Welcome to Economic Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. I am Elsie Tunyani, and of course, I'm your hostess. So, warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Steinman himself. And today we are talking about the subject that just doesn't seem to disappear. Like we cannot run away from it, we cannot hide from it, and that is, of course, inflation that refuses to just give us a rest.
Elsie, you are so right. I think you and I must have spoken 10 times about inflation and cost of living and the absolute crisis that it is. And it doesn't want to abate. Now, if you look at what the Bank of Namibia has been doing over the last 3 or 4 months, is that they've gradually brought down the interest rates, which is an indication that there is expectation is for inflation to subside. And we've also seen in the figures, if I remember correctly, the annual average inflation for last year was 4.6%. And for this year, it looks like it's going to come in at about 3.4 or 3.5%, but we'll only get the exact figure at the end of the year.
Yes.
What it means is that inflation is less than what it was last year. But that's only on paper. Because in economics, you have this phenomenon that we call a base effect. Now, remember, inflation is a measure of change. We call it delta. So it is the rate at which a change in a value happens. Is that I'm not running too high now?
No, not at all.
Okay, so it is, in essence, it tells us what is the difference between prices this year compared to prices last year. But if prices last year were 4.6% more than what they were in 2023, then you get a higher base. And if you go to 2025 and it's only 3.4%, remember that's 3.4 on 4.6. It's not on the lower base. So it is still, in nominal terms, it is still relatively high inflation. But we don't need to discuss the theory of inflation. You just need to go into the supermarket and then you see for yourself, inflation is rampant. And I've for today's discussion, I've divided it into 3 different categories, which relates to the service or the good that is affected by the inflation. And we can argue left and right, up and down. If we don't address the root cause of inflation, it will not go away. And now I want to make a statement that I'm sure is going to upset a lot of people. But you get 2 types of inflation, or you get 2 sources of inflation. The one is exogenous and the other one is endogenous. Now, these 2 big words, typically in NAMLISH, you would talk about exogenous and endogenous, but it's exogenous and endogenous. And what it means that we are currently, for the last 2-3 years, we've been faced by exogenous inflation, meaning it is nothing of our own doing. It is not like 2012 where we created an excess of liquidity in the local market through our own doings. This is entirely outside our domain. It's outside our jurisdiction, and you see it in the price of goods that are imported. And you must remember, 84% of everything that we consume every day is imported. So we are exposed to exogenous inflation. And it means that this inflation comes from the manufacturers and the producers in South Africa, or wherever we bring the stuff in from, but mostly from South Africa. So if you go look at Namibian inflation and you go look at South African inflation, you could see that there's a very, very strong correlation. We are a percentage point up or down sometimes, or even just 1/10 of a percentage point, but the 2 track each other. It's almost like you're measuring the same inflation in the same country. So what it the point I want to make, and I want to make this very clear, and this is why I will not be popular, is that if you deal with endogenous inflation, it means it's something that you've done. Like in 2012, where we went berserk in the capital market and with government debt instruments, and we saw the effect in 2013 and in 2014. Now it's not the case. This is sort of a backlash after COVID, and it's not something that South Africa can prevent because it's part of the bigger picture.
Yes.
But the key issue for us is how do we deal with exogenous inflation? And now, wait for it, there's only one way. You shrink your budget deficit, because that is the root cause of inflation. It's a complex picture, but it starts with your budget deficit. Because a budget deficit is money the government is spending that it doesn't have. It has to finance it somehow. It does so in the capital market through government bonds. The interest that they pay on those bonds are not determined by the government. It's determined by the market, the people who buy the bonds. And if the signals are negative, that the deficit is getting out of hand, remember the deficit translates into debt. Deficit, debt, all the time. And we've seen that we cannot escape it. So if you want to really curb inflation, if our government was serious about bringing inflation down, they would start by looking at the root of the trouble, and that is the budget deficit.
And after this break, we will get more into that.